Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I didn't change the layout this week. Oh well, we're going with the same one from last week. It's still spooky season here on the show. Apparently,
Nothing if not consistent.
we're inconsistently consistent, which makes us consistently inconsistent. Predator. Just gonna let that one linger for Marcus because he knows what.
Oh God, that being the fact that that's now an inside deuce chills. Deuce chills.
The best part was I didn't even show you the video, and I just explained it to you, and it made you laugh so hard you started pounding the desk. That's how I knew that I won the night. I'm
But
not
also,
competing with anyone. I just know that I've done something worth remembering.
which is what most of the times we're trying to do when we come on here anyway with each other.
Yeah,
Even
like, we're not
specifically,
trying to entertain people. We're trying to entertain each other.
specifically before the show. But the fact I'm sitting up there like, how has South Park not done that? That is hilarious.
It is. It's so fucking good.
It's literally Cartman running from a literal job. That really writes itself over there. Oh my!
So we got a lot to get to tonight. No lists. There may have been a list. Maybe. We're not sure. But we're not doing it. At least not this week. Although I do have an idea for a list for next week. I think you might enjoy it. So I'm going to float that one out to you before we talk about the decline of the NWA. The rise, falling still, and still falling of the NWA. My list idea for next week is the 10 characters that Impact/TNA developed and introduced to wrestling that had an effect. So like EC3 or Rosemary or Broken Matt or who was the one I was thinking of? There was one I was thinking of earlier today. So that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, does Abyss count in that?
Sure. I think Abyss would more than qualify.
So it's like, so long-time fans listening. None of the main event mafia. Sorry, Steiner.
Although African Booker Country, Africa Country Booker may qualify.
Or participant announcer booker. Oh.
I still think the best thing that they ever did was Kevin Nash big booting a little person. He just got a chair, sat down, whipped the dude into the ropes, and then kicked him in the face. That's peak wrestling entertainment. So we'll do 10 characters that were most defined and created by TNA, even if they went elsewhere. So we'll talk about that. But that's next week. This week we got to talk about Billy Corgan basically just destroying his company. He is the Elon Musk of pro wrestling because this man is dumb. So Nick Aldis recently announced that he is leaving the NWA in 2 months to become a free agent. He was set to wrestle at Hard Times 3. Let me see if... I don't even know if I can find out who he's wrestling anymore. Nick Aldis wrestling Hard Times 3. If anyone has who he was going to face, it would be the Observer. Because unlike so many people, they actually put all the pertinent information in there. Will not be wrestling at in the since deleted video. Aldis announced he was leaving, and there's not a wrestling angle. Aldis has responded to it. During an appearance, revealed that he signed a contract extension with the NWA. He's also scheduled to challenge Trevor Murdoch for the... Well, we'll talk about it here in a second. I don't know if he had an opponent yet. But either way, he's not booked for Hard Times 3. If there's no opponent listed here in the Observer, then I have to imagine that he didn't have one booked yet. So, and that event is coming up this week, this Saturday. So, oh, wait, hang on. Announced that Aldis and Odinson will face... Okay, so he was going to face off with Odinson who is one half of the tag team with Mike Pero. I forget what they were called. So he was going to have a match with Odinson. That's not happening anymore. I don't think it's been replaced yet. Fucking 14 matches. Jesus Christ. 13 if you don't count the pre-show. Jesus, there's too many matches. So, yeah, this is happening this weekend. The main event is trash. The sub-main event or the co-main event's trash. Yeah, this is a really bad card. Oh, but you can see EC3 versus Thom Latimer because it's 2017 TNA all over again. So basically what's ended up happening is, going back originally, Nick Aldis has been upset with the promotion for a while. One of the things that he was most upset about was getting replaced from the main event at NWA 74. It was supposed to be Aldis versus Murdoch for the NWA World title. He gets replaced with Tyrus because Billy Corgan is all on that Tyrus hype train. Because, he thinks that a 49-year-old severely overweight man with two bad knees and some pretty judgmental opinions is the way to go with the future of his promotion. He owns it. He can destroy it if he wants. Aldis wasn't happy about that. Apparently, there was also more issues going on involving the NWA Empowering show, Billy Corgan and Mickie James. Now, there are no specifics as of today, but the general feeling is that there have been at least 3 slights from Corgan to Mickie. At least one that happened beforehand because Aldis had stated that he felt that Billy disrespected his wife during and before Empowered. Then he believes that he disrespected her after Empowered. He then also states that them not doing Empowered 2 and the rationale behind it upset him to the point that he decided to leave the promotion. Now, that's a sub-issue we'll talk about here in a second. But he says, I'm going to test free agency in January. I'm going to fulfill my obligations, and things will be things. Corgan, as I've been saying for years, as one of the most petty, petulant children in the history of this promotion that we call wrestling and music, has decided to then suspend Nick Aldis for the next 2 months, making sure that he can't work for the NWA. No reasons given, just that he was suspended for not holding the ideals of the NWA, apparently. So he's off the show. His match with Odinson has been canceled. Odinson is still listed on the card versus TBA. TBA, he's always a fun time. The response to Nick Aldis, quote, pursuant to the recent comments made by Nick Aldis, the National Wrestling Alliance suspended Aldis from the main roster, and effective immediately, Aldis will not appear at the Hard Times 3 pay-per-view and Revolution Rumble television tapings in New Orleans, Louisiana on November 12th, 2022 and November 13th, 2022. As such, the National Wrestling Alliance reserves its right to comment on this matter at a future date. So, basically, a lot of it had to do, I think, personally with how he was booked. I think that was the prominent issue. Nick Aldis has constantly had issues with how he's been booked, regardless of where he's been. It's one of the reasons why he left Impact. Another big issue apparently has to do with the fact that Billy Corgan feels that there are great women's wrestlers, but can they work the NWA style and carry a pay-per-view? That was a headline that Fightful Wrestling posted because Billy Corgan believes that there wasn't enough talent to carry a second Empower. That seems to be the most prominent issue after the booking is the whole female booking of a show. Because as you remember, Mickie James did the first Empowered as the head booker, producer, and all that. And apparently Billy Corgan and others have said that the show was a success, but there just wasn't enough talent to do a second show this year, and that's why they didn't. Here's from the Fightful Select article. When asked about doing Empower 2, Corgan said, I'm really intrigued by the interest in Empower. We continue to want to do it, and We want to have a discussion with other companies about working together to create a fresh Empower event. Last time I talked about it, I created some headlines because people took umbrage with the fact. In fact, I had Maria Canales. I've known Maria for many years, and I love Maria. But even Maria called me out saying something about we have women. Every company has the right to decide their level of standards. When you create a world-class event like Empower, and it was a world-class event, you set a very high standard of what you should expect. Of course, there are plenty of great professional women's wrestlers in the world. Can they wrestle the NWA style? Can they carry a 3-hour pay-per-view? Can they move the case of women's wrestling, not just in wrestling, but in terms of the international media, forward? These are my concerns. Everybody has their own version of it. That's my version of it, and that's why I'm still on it. Until we can provide a world-class event with some of the best professional wrestlers in the world, in this case, females on the card, we won't do it. All this weird howling that goes about it is very strange to me because you're taking a positive, making a negative out of a positive. That's weird to me. Why would you take a positive? By the way, we put Empower as the first night of a 2-night pay-per-view on an anniversary show, and it drew. People cared. What if it didn't, and people didn't care, and it did horrible numbers? What if the matches were bad? You create a high watermark. You do something beautiful, make a statement, and somehow it turns into a weird negative where somehow I'm running from it. I'm not running from anything. I'm talking about my reasons for why we haven't done it yet. I continue to explore those opportunities. That's it. It's not more complicated than that. So, to that I say, I don't blame him for that. That's a fair response because let's pull up the NWA Empower card, Marcus. Because I feel like there's some things at play. Firstly, he was right. They did this on the night one of a 73rd anniversary show, and they sold the tickets back to back. So if you bought a ticket to one, you got tickets to the other. So that's number one. Number two, the main event of the other show was Trevor Murdoch versus Nick Aldis. So there was a little hype to it. The first Empower show had a main event of Chelsea Green. Is that right? Chelsea Green won the NWA Women's event. That can't be right. It says Chelsea Green won the elimination by what? So okay. So apparently the main event was the NWA Women's Invitational Cup Gauntlet, and it was won by Chelsea Green. That's a reason not to order the show again. On the card, you have Diamante, Chick Tormenta, and Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray is still with the promotion. Chick Tormenta's wherever. Diamante's in AEW. The Hex still with the card. Defeated Hell on Heels, Renee Michelle, and Sahara 7. Red Velvet and Keelan defeated the Free Babes. Deanna Prazzo defeated Melina Perez. Melina's not going to be available. I think she's retired. The Hex defeated Red Velvet and Kylie King. Camille versus Layla Hirsch. She's with AEW. And Chelsea Green won a battle royal that included Kiera Hogan, AEW. Lady Frost, who's kind of MIA at the moment. Debbie Malenko, who at the time was, I think, in her late 40s already. So it's Bianca Santino's daughter, Bianca Carelli. So, and Mickie James is winding down. She was the producer on the show. Awesome Kong popped up. She's gone from wrestling. There's really not a lot of available talent that can carry a pay-per-view. Not on its own. This was a 2-night affair with the NWA 73rd anniversary show. So I get that. I get that rationale behind Billy Corgan. And it's not that there isn't talent, but there are less top female stars in wrestling than there are male stars. You want proof, go look at Maria Kanellis' Women's Wrestling show, which is available for free on Pro Wrestling Television, or PWTV, whatever it's called. They had like 30 fans there, Marcus. Look at the Women of Wrestling. They have like 90 fans there. There's not a big market for female-only wrestling. I know people want to say there is, but if there was, the WWE would have done more than one Evolution card. They didn't. They only drew like 8,000 people.
It's certainly not big over here.
No. It's not big in Japan either, because most of those Joshi promotions are catering to several hundred fans. It is just not the same thing. Like Invicta, MMA, they have maybe 2,000 to 3,000 fans a show, if that. Most popular female athletes are popular because they're on sports cards with male athletes. Your Ronda Rouseys, your Amanda Nunez's, your Rose Namajunas. They're not headlining cards full of women. They're headlining cards with men. Guys will stick around to see the females fight because it's part of the card. You know, they see it no different than a weight class difference. You stick around for the lightweights just like you stick around for the heavyweights. You stick around for the men, you stick around for the women. It's a fully developed card. But exclusively female sports, specifically a niche kind of, you want to call it sport, you want to call it a hobby, you want to call it an interest, whatever, is not going to generate the same kind of revenue as a show with mixed genders or a predominantly male show. Most fans are male. Most fans prefer male wrestlers. It's not a sexist statement to say that. It's a pejorative fact. And to see some people reacting like this is sad and silly because Billy Corgan was one of the first people to want to do this kind of thing. And think about, like, Impact, who gets celebrated all the time for their knockouts. Their knockdown shows are some of the least watched in their history. That's why they haven't done anymore. I don't even think they've done an all-women's card in the Scott D'Amore era. And there's reasons for that, because there's not an interest in it. So, like, for Maria Kanellis and Mickie James to get all butthurt about this really just shows you just how really sad and fragile their egos are. I'm not vilifying anyone who wants to watch all women's wrestling. There's just not a market for all of these promotions to keep doing female-only shows each and every year. There's not enough talent. There's not enough names. Now you can sit here and say, well, we need to change that. That's fair. But that's like saying we need to put out fires without the water we have. Well, we need to get more waters. Well, that's something to think about for the next fire. That's not helping us put out this fire today. So if you want to put more money and more effort and more time into developing women's wrestling and to get more stars, more people who can draw, that's fine. But we're not there. Some of the biggest names that have been carrying that industry, that women's division industry, are either retired, or are on their way out. Mickey, Melina, Trish Stratus, Lita. Like, these are the names that would draw, and most of them aren't wrestling anymore. Like, AJ Lee's involved with women's wrestling. She could pull in a house. I guarantee you, if you put AJ Lee on a card alone, just on her own, she could probably pull in 1,500 fans. On her own. But she doesn't want to wrestle. She wants to be a producer. So when nobody watches her show and it inevitably gets canceled because it has no star power, is she going to bitch because she didn't put more effort into it because she didn't want to wrestle? Maybe. Who knows? But the fragility of some of these egos is hilarious. And now, to be clear, I'm not defending Billy Corgan in a whole. But on this specific topic, on not having enough names to guarantee a house that draws, I get that concern. He talked about the NWA 150, the women's 150. What did I say? Did I say NWA? I meant the PWI women's 150. And he says there are a lot of great professional wrestler women out there, just like there are a lot of great male professional wrestlers. I don't agree with a lot of the rankings. There are a lot of people on this list that are very good, that are getting listed higher than their accomplishments. Is that a trendy thing? Flavor of the month? That's not to bury anybody. My point is I see people listed high up in these rankings, and I don't agree with that. That's not to bury those talents. I just don't agree. There are people on this list that could not headline WrestleMania, and there are people that could headline WrestleMania that aren't high on this list. What does that tell you? And there's a reason why I stopped going in on PWI, because when they started to add women to the PW 500 men's, you knew they were doing it just to try to capture a certain audience because they're now ran by a certain type. So their entire theology on rankings is destroyed. It's supposed to be an in-universe canonical kind of ranking of accomplishments. But oftentimes it's just, how can we sell the magazine to or the digital subscriptions to the most people? And it's not an authentic ranking anymore. So this kind of got curtailed into a conversation with, do I still have it up there somewhere? There is a Trevor Murdoch quote that I can't seem to find. But basically he was saying that he agrees with Billy and that a lot of it has to do with the fact that even though the show is successful, it wasn't a show that could kind of stand on its own, and trying to do it again without the proper talent would be a disaster. And he's right. There's just not enough women out there who have the name value to carry a show like this on its own, because there's not another double night coming. You know, they're not. They didn't do a double shot for 74. They're doing a double shot for the next event, which is what is it? Hard Times 3, but it's a TV taping, not 2 nights of pay-per-views. So I think that's kind of one of those things that people need to realize, like, just there's not a lot of name value. That said, we've talked about Billy Corgan being ass as a promoter and as a booker and as a talent scout. He's not very good. So for Nick Aldis to have other issues beyond just the lack of an Empower 2, and that's may have been the tipping point, fair. And I also want to be clear, I don't know how Billy Corgan, quote-unquote, disrespected Mickie James, because none of us are privy to that. We don't know. Maybe he insulted her. Maybe he said that her idea was stupid. Maybe he didn't like the show and said it to her face. Who knows what Mickie did to warrant the disrespect, and who knows what Billy Corgan even did to be disrespectful. Very vague. And I don't like kind of jumping in on vagueness. Like, if you're going to be vague about something, to me, that says there's another side of this that makes you look bad.
Also highly subjective.
Exactly. Like, if you don't give me the full force of what's happening, I have no reason to just believe you, especially since Nick Aldis has a history of being very hard to work with. There are people who do not like working with this cat. There's a reason why he settled for the NWA and not New Japan or AEW or Ring of Honor, because at the time Ring of Honor was still kind of big, or WWE.
It's just one of the things. Again, to me saying that is not us defending. You know, we can't defend anything. We don't know squat.
No, we're just telling you what's happening.
Except that certain things may or may not went down. But again, like I said, we are subjective because it's like, you know, the disrespect is subjective to everybody. You know, I could, you know, go in Chad's house perfectly fine, my shoes on. Somebody else of a different persuasion, different background, it may be one of the most offensive things to come in their house and you know, not take your shoes off. It's just a thing, you know. So, and it could also be a tipping point where it's like he could have said something or done something or not done something, and it was the last straw on a pile of, oh, you think it's a game?
Mm-hmm.
Like we won't leave. Like, she's about to retire, and I don't need this anymore because I already put the company on my back, and then y'all are still here because of me. It could be a myriad of things. You know, he's not Corgan, not the first person I think Alderson had a falling out with. It won't be the last. It's business. You know, everybody don't see business the same way, and we know Aldous is a businessman, and if you know him being champion is a part of that business, and he's not champion, well, you know. Only gonna go so much longer. Specifically, when you know you might be looking at other talents like like on Space Jam. Like, you got a lineup of people to put on the court, and it's like the mouse. You pick the mouse.
So it's very much a situation with the NWA where a lot of these pieces are very jagged pieces to begin with. So there is no right or wrong side. I do want to see more women's wrestling. I find it very entertaining. Just like I want to see more women's MMA. I find it very entertaining. I don't like intergender stuff because I don't find it entertaining. Because I'm asked to subvert a lot of my expectations and kind of accept realities that aren't true to see something kind of play out. Now, it's a difference like when you put like someone like Jordan Grace, who is being accused of doing steroids. I don't know if that's true. And Marcus, truthfully, I don't care if she is. Even if she's jacked to the gills on the gas, it's not a real sport, guys. So I don't see the issue in it. And she doesn't have testicles that can shrink, so like, what's the big deal? I don't support illegal drug use in any way, shape, or form. But all she's doing, if she is using something illegal and illicit, is harming herself. So if she wants to do it, you know, what are you going to do?
What are we talking about?
Jordan Grace.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like she does because she works out so much. But then again, a lot of times those that work out a lot may be very well because of it incentivized to.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel because it feels like she's been working at that for so long. Like we talked about even before we got on air about the transformation from like the little cute pudginess with the baby fat to now she's like on a different tier. Like I was watching that match with her and Slamovich, I was like, God, I would love to see this version of Jordan Grace versus like Tessa when she was in peak and impact.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fantasy now, but yeah, it's not a sadly enough, and we love women's wrestling. Like I said, I would love to see another match with Slamovich, maybe a last woman standing match, which Impact would gladly do because they have no problem putting their women in that situation. But um, the fact of the matter is, we praise Jordan because she's just on a different tier right now. But the sad part is, it's not an industry full of Jordans.
No.
For every Jordan, you got like 3 Chelsea Greens.
There's a methodology that exists where if you look at an underrepresented field, whatever it is, and you have X type of people, usually it's straight white dudes, and you want it to be more diversified. But if you try to go 50-50 in any specific instance, be it gay, female, whatever, you will eventually be drawing from a pool of people that have fewer, what's the word I'm looking for? Fewer people in the pool itself to begin with. So if you have, 500 of one type and you hire 200, and you want the opposite of that type, but you also want the same 200 people, but that pool only has, 300 people, you're not going to be pulling from the same type of talent and the same quantity of talent. Eventually, people will decline. I've said this before and I'll say it again. With women's wrestling, it is a new thing to be this invested in it in terms of who you're getting, where you're recruiting from, how they're being developed. We've only been having a true quote-unquote women's revolution for about a decade, maybe a little more. Maybe 2008, 2009. A lot of the women that came up in the indies in the mid-2000s who were making names for themselves are retired. Your Sarah Del Rey's, your Daisy Hayes's. These women had decent runs and were really impressive, but they were outliers. Most of the women were Candice Michelle's, where she had a match where she didn't trip over herself. That's a win. When we think about women like Trish Stratus, she came from a muscle magazine. That's how John Laurinaitis liked him. The only other one that had a decent run outside of her that came from a similar field, and there was a lot of them that were brought in from that field. Tori Wilson. Let's see. Goddamn, who is the other one?
Is that what they found? Is that how they got Eve Torres?
I think so. No, Eve came in the Diva search, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But most of these women
Eve,
didn't develop
Layla.
into top talents. Like you had Trish and Victoria. All the other bodybuilding models, and like you can like Eve Torres, Layla, Taker's wife, Michelle McCool.
Yeah,
they're not good athletes. Like Layla is because she was a dancer,
mm-hmm.
but they weren't phenomenal athletes. We're seeing some real phenomenal athletes today with like Sasha Banks or wherever the hell she is. Charlotte, for whatever issues we may have with her, she was a former gymnast. She is able to do a what was that, like a standing fucking somersault?
Yeah. Her athleticism is insane. That's not debatable. Yeah.
20 years ago, that was not the case. Like the most athletic woman was Lita, who wasn't athletic at all. She was just crazy.
Yeah.
Lita had no vertical leap. She was not fast. It took her 30 minutes to adjust her feet because her footwork was so bad to jump off something. But she was nuts. She was nutso.
And
so we
in a
loved
lot
her.
of ways, back then on those certain regimes, they wouldn't let those women do that stuff.
Right. Well, not let, and I don't think they were capable because they weren't the athletes that we have now, because women's wrestling was not kind of fortified with people supporting it like it is now. So like when women watch wrestling now, they're like, I can do that, and I can get paid, and I'm not going to have to sit around in my panties barking like a dog covered in dog food. There's now a surge of good athletes joining the women's ranks, and that makes the women's profile elevated. It just does. Like the two that are really hyped up about are these, I think they're like 6'2", 6'3" volleyball players that they signed NILs with, and they're attractive, but they're athletic. So they're the Bellas, but good. Think about the Bellas. They're terrible. They are the worst wrestlers in the last 20 years. And the only reason they got any hype whatsoever is because they tried to pass talent sexually.
I knew you couldn't resist.
I can't. That's the best burn ever. Talent's not sexually transmitted. But AJ Lee wasn't wrong. AJ Lee was very athletic, though. Like, she wasn't a high flyer, but she was nimble and she knew how to work holds. Like, she did that. Like, what was that finish? Like, she would wrap her legs around the person's head and then pull back the arm, all while, like, leaning on the person's body in air. Like, not in air, but, like,
Yeah,
while
it's not.
hanging
It's.
off
I
them.
was gonna say it was a version of the octopus, but to your point, yeah, she was athletic as hell, crazy abs, but she knew she was little and she had to work that.
Mm-hmm.
We praised Bliss about that a lot when we liked her.
I
Um,
still like her. They're just not using her well. Bliss is
yeah,
another. She's a mega level athlete. She was a cheerleader, but she was also a gymnast.
yeah,
Like with Tessa, Jordan Grace, huge athletes. Savannah Evans, huge athlete. And I don't know if she can, because we haven't seen a lot from Savannah Evans in terms of like what she can do in the ring.
yeah,
So like I don't know if that's all she can do or if she's being kind of stunted. But we weren't having these athletes 20 years ago. So in 20 years, women's wrestling is going to be fucking phenomenal. But that's going to be in 20 years. Today, we have good athletes, good
yeah,
indie wrestlers, but we don't have big names. So I understand Corrigan's issue with that. I also understand Nick Aldis basically being like, bitch, you've taken me off how many shows, taken the belt off me how many times, and all I do is work for you?
and to so many of your points, if you're seeing all this crap that's going on with the NWA from a like what the hell are you doing booking perspective, as a fan, imagine what he's saying looking at it backstage.
Yeah.
And he's been there from the ground level when all they had was him in that title and the what you like the 10 pounds of gold.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine like him watching that fall from grace is like, well, I done had my era here. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he done, like I said, a businessman saved his money, da da da. But now it might be time to move on to green the pasture to do something else. His wife's finna retire. His son's getting older. He might, the itch. They might be beating the itch out of him to even wrestle right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the jumping on Corgan about the women thing. So much of the internet is just ready to get behind something, or rally, scream at something anyway. But it's a thing about putting on something that's gonna be the negative on the returns. Like you can have all the best intentions and still do the wrong things and get shitty results. So as a businessman, you do have to think about that, regardless to how people feel. Like just because you feel like, you know, not to keep ragging on it, but maybe switch a name. Feel like I don't know, Nikki Cross is the best thing since Trish Stratus. That don't mean that translate to her main event in the show and
It,
putting ass in the seats.
it's no different than any other form of entertainment. Too many people seem to forget that these things cost a lot of money to do. Like, for a great example, look at Star Trek. Star Trek, if you want to use the terminology, which is fine, went very woke with Discovery. And now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they had a black female lead who's phenomenal, although I don't like her character. I was very happy when she got announced as the captain, but then I saw it, I'm like, eh. They had a cast of mostly Alphabet Mafia members, written by a member of the Alphabet Mafia, dedicated the show to the idea of the Alphabet Mafia. And surprisingly, it has not found much of an audience. It has had its budget reduced 3 times. The order of its shows have been cut twice. So like it went from like having like 13 or 14 shows to now I think they have 8 coming out for their 5th or 6th season. I forget what season they're on. It didn't do well. It was supposed to launch the app. It was, what was it? The CBS All Access. The app did so bad. The service did so bad with this as its front runner that Paramount was that CBS was forced to merge with Paramount and relaunch the app as Paramount Plus. So the show was so bad and so costly, it forced an entire streaming service to merge with another channel company, recreate the app, and now they finally have a show that's hitting with fans in Strange New Worlds. That's not to say that Discovery's a bad show. It's to say that Discovery cost well over $100 million per season. It didn't find an audience to support that. It didn't have enough subscribers to the service to support that show alone. It was not making $100 million in profit per year. So they were losing money on the app just off that show alone. And now people are like, well, why are we going, with Strange New Worlds? Because even though Strange New Worlds does still have an eclectic cast that caters to everyone, it's not catering to only one. And that's the big issue with Discovery. Discovery is a show very much intended for like one or two types of people. And if that's you and you like, that's not a problem. We do not need to like the same things. Like it exists, but it exists at such a high number financially that it is not profitable. And when things are not profitable, it hurts other things. And I'm going to point to another example that's going to hurt Marcus's soul in a way that I cannot recover from. I'm sorry, but that is what is happening with Warner Media. They made too many things that weren't profitable, and now they're fucked.
No, look, man. I am the guy that can acknowledge. Look, I like Discovery, love Sonequa Martin Green,
She's great.
but
She's
I get
phenomenal.
love, yeah, never just the woman is just everything. But I get the criticism around that character because so much of that show is around, Burnham and stuff. And they've tried, and they've gotten better to their credit about spreading that love. But so much of it is they kind of spreading that love feels like too late because now in the latter seasons they're trying to get you more familiar with other people in the cast, and it's like, you want to do that now? Like, you should have been doing that. Meanwhile, over on Strange New Worlds, you love the whole crew.
Oh, such a good crew. I love every character on that show.
Specifically the doctor. I want to bang the nurse. I love the doctor. The story with his daughter was magnifique.
His name was Umbanga, right? Umbanga?
Yeah, Umbanga, yeah.
Oh, he
yeah.
broke my heart. Oh, I love that.
Story with his daughter was freaking phenomenal. The New Year Horror could have my kids. Like, I love the cat and freaking Anson Mount. I'm like, I'm not even gay. What is this?
Right? You're sitting there going.
I'm not even in the community. But what is happening right now?
Sitting there going, I get it.
I'm like, don't you do it. Don't you do it, Anson. Hit it.
But, it's one of those things, like, when you cater to a specific group, and women's wrestling is a niche group. Like, if you're only catering to women's wrestling, you are, at best, you're having the audience. You're cutting it by 50 every time. Because there's just some people who don't follow wrestling enough to know who, Max the Impaler is. You want to headline her against Camille? Okay, how many people are you going to get to that show? Not many. You want to headline Cody versus Roman? You're going to get a lot more people. And you can talk about the size of the platform, and that's all valid. But that doesn't change what is. Because even if you put Max the Impaler and Camille on WWE television for a year, you're still not going to draw a huge house with just those two women alone because most of the audience is still male and most of men don't watch women's sports for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that with a niche promotion like the NWA, catering to an already niche audience like the NWA fan base, who regularly has like 30 people in their studio shows, so that's not exactly a great sign. When you already have all that going on, to even further promote a niche show without the top talent available, and Trevor Murdoch and Corgan both alluded that a big issue has been the politics to get other women. Because, you can get Jordan Grace. I think Jordan Grace is like on an AJ Lee level. Like, her name alone, I think, gets you at least 800-900 people. Just her name alone, wherever you go. Maybe 1,200, 1,400, depending on which cities and how many OnlyFans she has in that city.
Oh, that's bad.
I'm not being facetious when I say that. I mean it. Like, that the chick you subscribe $10 a month to see in lingerie is coming to town. You might show up. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Simps are Simps, man. They'll show up anywhere.
Yeah, I am Peraza.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. I don't get the outrage over that. I don't get why people aren't more outraged over how bad the promotion has been booked over the last 2 years. And I like Trevor Murdoch. Do I like him enough to watch a show where he's headlining with Tyrus? Not for $40, I don't. Not even close. So it's one of those things where, like, people need to be more outraged about the NWA for all the right reasons, not for all the logical reasons. Like, them not doing a women's show because they don't think it can be profitable isn't an insult. It's a fact. And whatever issues exist between Mickey and Billy either need to be brought out into the open so we know who really is at fault here, or need not to be spoken about so that we don't get involved in the middle of something that really doesn't matter to the fan base. So I think, Nick Aldis and Billy Corgan are two of the hardest people to work with in wrestling, so I'm not at all surprised that here we are having a 40-minute conversation about who's the bigger douche.
Yeah, but well, yeah.
You
You know,
know?
we dealt with him in Impact, and it had its ups and had its downs, but yeah, but yeah, but like you said, sometimes you got to look at the profit versus non-profit, and just going back to talking about Discovery, you can smell the money dripping off that show.
Oh, yeah. All,
You
all
know?
the Star Trek shows have big budgets. And you
Mm-hmm.
know when a show's in trouble when it gets canceled, when it ends early, or if it gets its episodes cut. And Picard's done after season 3, and they're like, well, it's always supposed to be season 3. But then the executive producer's like, oh, yeah, we're going to go as long as Stewart wants to. And Stewart's like, I would like to do more. And the show's ending after 3. So it's like, why is it ending after 3? Because it was a fucking shitty show. And like a lot of people are like, yeah, this is garbage. Like this is like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, and that's not why we watch Star Trek. We don't watch it for fucking robot fucking and eye gouging and nonsense like
Yeah,
that. We watch it for silliness and exploration.
yeah. Then I mean, again, it's crazy how stuff works because you'll have great shows. You have shows like Pickard. I've always called it Pickard.
Pickard.
That'll get the advertising, but will show up lackluster creatively. Then you'll get great shows like Stargirl that excel creatively and don't get
Yeah.
even 3% of the advertising, and they finna go. And there's so much, and a lot of that too is the transition with the CW and that whole acquisition. But it's like we're losing a great show with a great cast, with a great character. Because I mean, the season came back and that cast was at a con and people was asking them, "When's the show coming back?" And it's nuts.
Is Stargirl canceled? Are they not getting a season 5?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, they didn't even get a season 4. It got canceled.
Yeah, yeah. But I was just about to say, it's now you can get a season 4. Yeah, this is it. But to that point, I think Johns came out and said we kind of saw this coming, like so we closed it out, um, in a way that would be satisfying.
Remember when it was on DC TV or DC Network?
Yeah, man. It's and now HBO Max is popping. Freaking Doom Patrol found its footing as it should. Harley Quinn is great. Titans, that season is promising, but the seasons are usually promising out of the gate. So we'll got my fingers crossed. Um, and never have a shitty episode that's featuring a lot of Anna Joe with Starfire, but still. Um,
Yeah, but the problem is they're probably going to get canceled too.
it's a lot. It's crazy because now we're in the era where things for DC are ramping up on the silver screen and getting chopped on the small screen. Whereas when CW was shining, it was the complete opposite. Like, well, we ain't getting nothing across the street, so CW said we'll do the Justice League on TV. Now the tables have turned again, Mr. Powers.
How the turntables turn. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Raw's porn. Mark Raw is doing their 30th anniversary on January 23rd, 2023, and they released a logo that has Raw is XXX. I get it. I do. But also, fuck yourself. Come on.
It works with the peacock of it all.
Raw is triple X on the cock. The cock of pee. I'm 36. Why?
Now I want to change the show title. But
What are you going as for Halloween? Predator.
and it all comes full circle.
Marcus, this is obviously Triple H. How do we feel about this? Because I'm feeling a certain way. Are you all right with the triple Xing? Because like obviously that's supposed to be innuendo for adult films and whatnot. Did I lose Marcus?
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, there you go. So, how do you feel about the Raw is porn logo?
It's crazy because you know this stuff goes through several different, I would feel, stages before it comes out. So somebody had to like that immediately takes me back to that Hogan of it all. Man, I'd be freaking going in meetings promoting the company, brother, and people like, what the hell is you selling tits and ass? You know, for the TNA of it all. But yeah, they had to know that could potentially be a thing. But I'm guessing that they want to believe that people are far more emotionally more intelligent than that.
Oh,
Which
my friend, I gotta disagree with you. I think they're doing it intentionally. I think they know what's going on. I think that's they're alluding to it because they're like, Raw's War. Remember when Raw used to be super raunchy?
no, you're probably right. I'm probably talking about the narrative they're gonna sell when it comes up, and you're talking about how it actually played out.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch it though? Coming out in 2.5 months, 3 months.
And this is just a regular Raw or Super Raw or something.
This is the 30th anniversary. Hence the XXX is 10 years of Raw, and then X is a Roman numeral for 10.
It'll work for DX, even though that. Yeah, I'll probably catch that. I'll probably catch some of it. But
I'll
and then
watch
I
it
give
if there's no DX. Like that's my new rule.
I mean, that's just gonna give them. That's just gonna be a thing for the. Well, maybe not because this ain't Vince. He used to like to whore out all the nostalgia guys. Although it will be hilarious for them to use the XXX and bring out somebody like Val Venus. Um,
Hello, ladies.
and you can't do Raw and do XXX and not bring that Godfather in with some random but very consensual host. Um,
But very consensual house. Ah. By the
yeah.
by, Victoria, ironically enough, was a hoe at one point. In fact, Victoria was in WrestleMania No Mercy. Not WrestleMania No Mercy. WWE No Mercy for the N64. Was she in WWE WrestleMania 2000?
Wow. So she was a Godfather hoe and a Vince devil.
Was she?
Yeah, with Candice Michelle and Tori Wilson. For however briefly that was.
Apparently, Vince McMahon was seen out on a date recently.
Oh, that's what that was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was looking, I'm like, yep, that's definitely not Linda.
And he's got a thicker hairline, darker hair. That I laughed at that. I sure as shit did. Like, okay, Vince. Okay, you're 77. Fuck off.
Uh,
I completely forgot about the Vince's Devils thing.
Speaking of 10 years, 30 years of Raw. Yeah.
Candice Michelle and Tori Wilson in a bed. That is not something I have an issue with.
At all, till this
Like,
day.
even a little.
Still hold up very good. I mean, let's be honest, Tori hasn't aged, certainly physically.
Well, she's a yogi. She's a yogi master.
Exactly.
Like, like, she knows what's what. And I'll tell you what, Michelle, like, I haven't seen her. I think she did, like, one of those shows recently, like, Empowered, or did she come back at, what was it, the fucking Revolution show? I forget. But the last time I saw her was a retirement match at the House of Hardcore Blizzard Brawl show, where she defeated Tara, or Lisa Marie Varon. And she looked great. She was, a little bit, she wasn't as svelte and six-packed abbed as she was in WWE. But she's also, like, at the time, like, 39 or 40, and I think she had a kid. So, like, for all that and for not being as, proactive of like, working out because now she's not, a full-time athlete, She looked great. Not just physically, but in the ring. She moved really well. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
But
Tori always, I feel like has kept herself up at a certain degree physically because she's always been like an older chick, and then she has that knee, and she's
oh, you
always
mean Victoria? Okay, I thought for a second you meant
yeah.
Tori Wilson.
No, Tori's always been phenomenal shape. It's just like she's
Yeah, that
not.
knee is
Uh,
fucked.
yeah, that knee is So um, it's crazy. It'd be crazy. We go back in time and like if like Tori had the skills to match her aesthetic. Jesus.
Right. And Victoria was pretty solid as a worker, even with that bum knee. So that's pretty
Yeah,
impressive with that.
and and not too many times like you'll see a woman on a roster with a like she had. I think at one point she had the best finisher on the roster.
Yeah, with the Widow's
Widow's Peak.
Peak.
Yeah.
Yep, that's some good stuff right there. That's for sure. All right, let's see what else we got up here. Chelsea Green thinking about going back to the WWE. She says that it's up to the WWE. There are rumors that the WWE are interested, and I am sitting here going, no, stay off my television. So I guess in actuality, I'm saying yes because I don't watch that shit. Go to Raw. Go to SmackDown. Go bother them. I cannot stand Chelsea Green, Sam I am. I will not watch her on a plane. I will not watch her on a train. I will not watch her in a boat. I will not watch her with the goat. And yes, I'm talking about Tony Hawk.
I don't give a shit if she votes. Like it's.
I don't even like her when she gloats. I'd rather eat some green eggs and ham, which you know is spoiled as shit, than watch another minute of her acting like she can drip. Boom!
It's not, and, Deanna Purrazzo, who is, another one that, kind of suffer. Like, she suffers from Chelsea Green the way Rosemary and Talia suffer from,
Havoc.
yeah, Jess. So, yeah. And speaking of physique, they look like Rosemary done slimmed down again.
Yep.
Look, she's looking great.
It's really hard to stay active and keep yourself in a shape you used to be after a
Yeah.
severe knee injury. And the thing is, like they tell you it takes 6 to 9 months to heal, but that's only just to be structurally sound. You're looking at another year or two to actually get back to who you were. Because the old adage is it takes you 1 week to get out of shape and it takes you 3 weeks to get into shape. So if you can't do anything physical for months, which as somebody who had a far more extensive knee surgery than she did, is exactly what happened. You know, she probably 2 or 3 months couldn't do anything. And then when she could come back, she was limited simply because she was still in recovery. And then when she came back, she was still trying to, get her strength back. So I'm not surprised that it's taken her about 2.5 years, nearly 3, to get back into her pre-injury fighting shape. And it's harder biologically, I think, for women to lose weight as well. So and that's another issue. And the fact that she's still going and still finding new tricks and ideas to make herself reinvented.
Yeah,
So she's one of the best reasons to watch Impact. I love it.
absolutely.
She's fantastic.
And she's also another one that because of how that character is, she can play with her look so much. The
Mm-hmm.
hair, the makeup application, like the clothing. Like she plays with it a lot. She never stays in one thing too long. Which only works to do the intrigue, and obviously you can do the elseworld shenanigans whenever. But I'm looking at her like, man, she can kind of leave that tag stuff alone right now. Put her back at the title. I know
Yeah.
you got the knee of it all and everything, but like I said, she's looking good. She can, turn things up. Obviously, they weren't going to put Yim in that position. She was always there for a fixed amount of time anyway. Um, but send Rosemary back at after the title, man. Like you got some good stuff that you could do specifically. I think with her and Grace.
And she's eating too many losses. I'm not happy about that.
And Rosemary,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they've been. It's funny because like I haven't been seeing too much of Steve, but Torus has been racking up some wins at random lately.
I don't hate that at all. I think Therese is a phenomenal hand. I
Yeah.
think they need a fourth person that's not Jessica. with the emphasis on the sick, and for some reason, and Taya. I think they need like an actual fourth member. I always wanted to see Danhausen with Rosemary. Two
Mm.
demons kind of hanging out. I think that would have been
He'd be
adorable.
like the little demon intern that she's had to train, like or something like what do they call when vampires turn somebody and they kind of like cling to them like a familiar or something.
No,
Like
they're
when they
just someone who got turned a familiar, at least in the Blade mythology, because I know
it's a
that's where you
human
are
that they
from.
got turned. Gotcha.
It's a human who works for them.
Yeah.
Because it's familiar. Like,
Yeah, yeah, because they're looking to be turned, which is why they, yeah,
yeah. They're the vampire version of a young boy in New Japan.
gotcha. Oh, I'm thinking, okay, yeah. What the phrase I'm looking for is what if Rosemary sired Danhausen?
There it is. Yes.
Yeah, that it.
Better yet, what if they're an old married couple that got divorced recently? And by recently, I mean like 1,000 years ago.
Oh, that's
Rosemary, what are you
hilarious.
doing? It's been
That's
a
why
thousand years since our divorce.
that's why he's been cursing people. He's
Still
grieving.
heartbroken.
He's grieving.
Danhausen, very nice, very evil. Rosemary, just very evil.
Ah,
See, like, I wish I had the money to buy Impact so I could pay Danhausen all the money he needed to not sign with AEW, just so I can get skits with him
and
and
they
Rosemary.
long term it. This would be a great way to bring back another female because he needs her back. He wants her back. He can't figure out a way to do it, and he sacrifices something to bring back the bunny. He goes,
There it
he
is.
freaking goes to James Mitchell. It gives up something, and we get the bunny back because God knows they're not doing anything with her in AEW.
They're not doing anything with 5/7 of that roster. I could just imagine like James Mitchell going, Danhausen, if you want the bunny, I'm gonna need something in return. And Danhausen goes, 1 minute. Walks over, Josh Matthews, come here. And you see Josh Matthews. It's Josh Matthews, and he pushes him into a door with like a red light. And now he's yours, bunny, please.
That actually might be a good thing because you bring that full circle, and like Rosemary is just fed up with this whole Jess thing, and then she's like, "I tell you what, I'll find myself a partner, and I'll take those tags out of her." And then we get the rabbit back.
Right, with the bunny costume and the little devil
Yeah.
shake and the little cottontail. I'm just
Come on.
saying, man. Like I don't like Jessica Havoc, and if Chelsea Green wants to take her with her into WWE, more power.
Like
Take Steve Macklin too.
the weird that like it's like she has the gimmick now where she's gets this quaint wrestler that like almost kind of hits moves ironically, but I'm like, that's how she normally wrestles.
Oh, great! You found a way to make your subpar wrestling even more subpar. Genius. And like, people think wrestling is like a superhero movie where you can just pretend someone is athletic. Like Robert Downey Jr. probably has the athleticism of any other 60-year-old dude. But in enough makeup, he looks young. And you're like, oh, Robert Downey Jr.'s not 58. Yeah, he is. Fucking is. But like with wrestling, you don't really have a lot of that kind of situations. Like in the 80s and 90s, if you wrestled a certain sort of way, you could cover that up. Like I don't think Glenn Gilberti is a good athlete, but that dude did 6 moves and stunted the rest of the match. That was it. Made a career off that. Women could do that too. It's not hard, and like some of them do. Like I don't think Sue Young's a particularly good wrestler, but she's got a gimmick that works.
Mhm.
Same with Allie. I don't think she's a great worker. But if she gets something with the bunny, she doesn't need to be. Like Sting, like he's 63. I'm sorry, he's 163. Like he's got a bad neck, bad back, 2 bad knees. And this motherfucker's like, I got 1 move. I'ma jump on you. But it works for over a year and a half, or like almost 2 years. Sting is great. Love me some Sting. Gotta get some more Stinger. You just stick 3 things in the ring, and 2 of them are getting in the ring and taking off his coat. So, like, you don't need to be a great athlete or a great worker if you know what you're doing. But Chelsea Green has had, like, 3, 4, 5, 6 gimmicks? None of them have worked. She's not someone that has a personality or the mic skills that make you want to hang around. Like, I don't need to see Rosemary wrestle another match in my life. Give her 5 minutes every week on Impact, and I will pay to see her. Every week. She's that good. I will pay you $5 every week to make sure Chelsea Green's not on my TV anymore. Like, be gone. She's just not athletic enough. She doesn't have a likable personality. Like, her best asset is being Matt Cardona's. What's the word I'm looking for?
Patamore.
No, yeah, but entourage.
Yeah.
Like that's her best fit right now because like no one gives a shit about VXT. Vexed. I'm supposed to be impressed by that. You can't spell a word correctly. Great. It's
Like
adorable.
that's what I am when we see you. Vexed every time.
I am vexed. I'm so vexed.
Yeah, but look at what Maria's always doing with the kingdom. She's
Boom.
brilliant.
Perfect example.
Look at freaking Rhea Ripley is damn near having better segments just by herself being like the woman to the Judgment Day as an ongoing story thing than some of the women have when they having actual matches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that can be done. It's just like she don't do nothing, and we thankfully we got Deanna on her own as champion for the time that we did, but it's just not. And I get it. That's her best friend in real life, likely a real life matron of honor and all that. But it's just like it's not doing nothing, man. It's not not doing nothing at all. But at least there are multiple, and I appreciate Impact for always having something going on multiple fronts with the women, even if some of his a lot of stuff I just don't care about.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And see, like this is like again going back to the Cody Rhodes comment of nepotism in wrestling. Chelsea Green only has the job she has because of Matt Cardona, and I'm pretty sure Brian Myers only has the job he has because of Matt Cardona, and I'm pretty sure Matt Cardona only has the job he has because he's gotten down on a bended knee once or twice for a certain promoter or two. Because why the fuck would you book Matt Cardona? Like, my God, that man is not talented. He's a decent athlete. But that dude's personality is as dry as sandpaper, brother. I cannot deal with that dude. Brian Myers, though, is at least somewhat entertaining, especially in this feud he's got going on with Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry is like one of those guys like, all right, I get you, Joe Hendry. I get you. Say his name, Marcus, and he will appear. So, yeah, hopefully Chelsea Green leaves. And speaking of another person I hope leaves, Braun Strowman. So apparently, it's not just the world that hates Braun Strowman. It's his own bosses. So he got into some instances on Twitter coming back from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where he insulted a bunch of lighter worker guys for doing the flippy doos. And he called them baggers at grocery stores, grocery store baggers. And he thought he was hot shit, and people got pissed. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just riling people up." No, you're not. You're not joking. You're being a douche. There's no constructive criticism there. Just you being la douche. Ricochet said something which I always love when Ricochet is the person that gets on this high horse because the dude's been accused of cheating on like every girlfriend he's ever had. And not showing up for his kids. Like when he's the moral arbiter, it's like really.
And he's had a few. Like
like he's not the guy you want sliding into the comment sections to kind of correlate the ego. Will Ospreay was another one. I'm like, wow, why are like all the mid tier dudes popping in here? Like, no. But one of the more decent human beings, Mustafa Ali's like, teach me how to get fired. That was great, which is ironic because Mustafa Ali wanted to get fired about a year ago, and they wouldn't. That company's trash.
Get fired. That's like we see. It's funny, like what wrestlers will come together for on these social media things.
Anything to show Braun Strowman will unite the community. That's for sure.
Yeah, because they probably didn't like him before that, which was only like, oh, now we get to say something to this asshole. So it's like it's always exactly. It's always funny with somebody like Ricochet, but I mean, it probably feels like a shared thing, and probably more people would have said something. They just don't be feeling like getting into the Twitterverse of it all. But I'm pretty sure that water cooler conversation is hilarious.
A lot of people. I just remembered something else I wanted to send you. A lot of people got into it. Even Chris Jericho, who basically said, like, I used to bag groceries in defense. And Braun Strowman's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I was just, trolling the community, and people need to learn to take a joke. And it's like, if I go,
Didn't
knock,
you
knock,
just
who's
tweet
there, flip a
something?
doodah, it's like, all right, that's a joke. If I go, knock, knock, who's there, don't push women because they're terrible, that's not a joke. You're just being a douche.
Didn't you just tweet something to some idiot that we already talked about?
Probably.
About like don't be a douchebag and you wouldn't get the backlash that you get.
I literally sent that to Braun Strowman. That was literally my response to him.
Was that Braun Strowman or somebody else? Because was that dude that did that promo that we talked about week before last or something like that? Because I feel like it's on your Twitter
Oh, God, now you're
that
going to
you
make me
quote
check my
you
Twitter.
quote tweeted it. Um, oh, what am I doing? I got to tweet that stuff out. Not the Nick Aldis stuff. Who am I? I know it's on Twitter. You quote tweeted it. Um,
It's on the Nerd Corp Twitter.
yeah.
Rather, the Boo Corp Twitter.
Not nerd quote. Not seeing. Not.
Oh, we didn't talk about Rebby Hardy yet. That's always fun.
Oh, I thought that's one of the most consistent trains you've been on. Like this woman sucks.
She's
She
the
sucks.
worst.
She's always sucked. You people have seen her suck in public. We've heard her suck in private. Uh, like she's always been ass. Like
Let's see.
I feel like it was one of the dudes who cut that horrible one of the bad promos we talked about, and then got on Twitter and was trying to unify wrestlers or something. And you quote tweeted about it.
I think you're right, because I've already scrolled way past the Braun Strowman tweet. Oh, what the fuck is it? Oh, was it? I've been tweeting far more than I thought I had been.
Yeah. I just thought about that. By the way, that goddamn cartoon sound with that bear attacking that dude is still this. Ah!
Boink,
Boing,
boink.
boing. Oh, I was getting attacked by Baloo. Oh, you really have been active tweeting.
I
Uh,
know. Like, this is weird. Like, I'm back to Bound for Glory. How long ago? Was it on my personal?
no, it's on the Nerd Code, so apparently Ace is still white. No, that's not it. No more Mega, SmackDown tape, Shayna, Becky can't act, no shit.
Oh
Um,
God, that was terrible. Okay, so I'm still scrolling, but that Becky Lynch as Cyndi Lauper was terrible. Her American accent was her more marbly mouth than I've ever heard in my life.
oh, okay, Chad. The Adam share tweet. When you tweet it, it's always a bitch move when you insult people and then try to do the LOL, take a joke line. It's not a joke when you're denigrating people. Stop being an antagonist and people will stop coming at you. You nearly 40. You are you immature?
Yeah, Adam Shear's Braun Strowman. Was that on the Nerd Corp one or no? I gotta check out my own personal one. Oh, yep, there it is. Did he delete the tweet?
Yep, this tweet was deleted by the tweet author.
In another word, you a bitch.
With this like, and going back to the Strowman thing, like that wasn't a joke. That's how you felt, and you didn't expect the attention for it. Now like, oh, it was a joke, jokey. Like, no, you're an asshole. Didn't he get into it with Kurt Angle's wife?
Yeah, and
His wife?
no, yes, but no. She was Mrs. Jarrett at the time.
Gotcha.
But yes, it was formerly Karen Angle, currently Karen Jarrett. And she's like, "Do you know who my husband is?" And he's like, "I don't know anything because I'm a big, giant, dumb head." Brr. Well, apparently there's even more to the story because Braun Strowman has a history of leaving shows early. Like when he's done with the segment, he'll leave, and that's kind of like a faux pas. But he'll also come in late. He's been accused of being very lazy, and people are kind of like, he's just kind of a dillweed, which is why he's never been given the push fans think he deserves because he's kind of unreliable. So now he's sitting here trashing his fucking coworkers, and his coworkers are coming off on him, and like he doesn't look good, and like he was already a very unpopular dude. You know that because he could only get booked in Sekai Y4 double deuce or whatever the fuck it was called. Why sell your own fucking something or other? No Soul Incorporated. The fuck was that EC3 promotion called? Control Your Narrative, was that it?
Yeah.
CYK? I kept wanting to say CKY. I'm like, nope.
Just like, what is it, freaking KY jelly? What the hell is it? Regulate your bowels? What the hell was that?
No, I was confusing them with the segment with the former band. I think they're former, or maybe they're still going with the former band CKY. So like I didn't want to confuse them, but yeah, like Control Your Narrative, CYK. God, talk about the trash promotion. Fuck you, EC3. You ruined your own goddamn legacy. Although he's gonna be on my list next week.
Although I do want to go back in time and watch that house party that they had with Velveteen Dream, just so I can. Whose phone is this randomly recording?
How much cocaine did we inhale on this party, guys? Like, uppity, little rich white girl amounts, or like fucking Tony Montana, 6 pounds in a sitting.
How much fucking cocaine did you take? And why did the phone light go off when I started pissing? What kind of stuff is it?
Let's talk some New Japan. Actually, let's talk about some Rebby Hardy first. So, Rebby Hardy, I don't like this woman. She is perpetually the bane of my existence. Because she always says shit that doesn't need to be said. So, she believes that, So Matt Hardy kind of went out and said something to the effect like, he heard from certain people that CM Punk was the issue, and he went on a podcast and said it, but then he backtracked what he said because Matt Hardy said I had first-person experience on what happened, but then he later clarified he meant first-hand account of what happened, which meant somebody told him. And Rebby Hardy goes off on CM Punk, and I'm just sitting here going, well, and this is what I said. Rebby Hardy is one of the most toxic people in wrestling history, with a history of abuse against her partner, i.e. Matt Hardy. If she has a problem with CM Punk's behavior, it's fair to say that Punk was probably in the right. Because Rebby's usually not. And the thing is, like, Punk and the Hardys go way back. And the thing is, like, specifically with Jeff, CM and Jeff have never gotten along. Like, they toured the Indies together. Like, people forget that. They were in Ring of Honor together. Yeah. That's a sentence that was once said and experienced. So CM Punk and then CM Punk had Matt Hardy in Ring of Honor. Way before he came back, because in 2005 when he got fired, Hardy popped up in Ring of Honor. So the three of them have danced around each other. And then when Jeff was doing his Coke binge or whatever it was in, I think it was 2008, 2009, when he was at the diner, high off his ass, cutting on Punk. Punk's like, you're a junkie. Get the fuck over yourself. There's animosity there. There's been animosity between the Punks and Hardy for years. I'd say even nearly decades. Because Punk and Hardy first met, Jeff Hardy and Punk first probably met in 2003, 2004. So that's nearly 18 years of shit between the two of them. I am not going to sit here and give Matt Hardy the benefit of the doubt that he's giving people honest information, considering AEW has already kind of screwed the pooch on who they're interviewing, because they didn't interview Ace Steel's wife. She was there. And when you think about it, like, why would you not want to interview everyone that was there? Secondly, the Young Bucks have a history of bullying people. Why would I trust that the Young Bucks were just showing up to have a conversation? Thirdly, Kenny Omega was friends with a sex offender, got him hired on a show, I think it was the first Fyter Fest, And then he's like, well, and we all forgot about it. CM Punk, on the other hand, has stand for women's rights, stood up for the LGBTQ, has defended wrestlers' rights, demanded wrestler fair pay, has always done and said the things he's believed in, even to a detriment to himself, and has only ever had a reputation of not being the easiest to work with because he knows what he needs to do to make a moment matter. That pisses a lot of people off. Is it fair? Is it right? I don't know. It just is. But yet the other dudes have a history of really toxic behavior against other people. In fact, a lot of people seem to think that those three are either the godsons of AEW, and it's their house. How dare you step on their couch with your shoes? The other half thinks if they were gone from the company, it would be a lot less toxic. Because people have been quitting left, right, and center because of the fact that, Omega, the Bucks, they're real close with Tony Khan. A lot of guys aren't really happy with how they're being treated, both, in storyline and on the roster. Half of that has to do, I have to imagine, with the EVPs. You lost Cody Rhodes, your EVP. Why? Is it because he wanted to go back so desperately to the WWE? No, he's looking to make money. Why did Cody Rhodes leave? Well, he had a falling out with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Did that have something to do with it? Marcus, gun to my testicles? I'm saying yes. So I'm supposed to believe that Miro, Cody, Punk, Andrade, Aleister Black, all these dudes that are either quitting, wanting to quit, or about to get fired have issues with AEW management simply because of Tony Khan? Or is it because the executive vice presidents of that company who ran up to a locker room, kicked it open, hurt a dog, and then got into a fist fight with their top star? I don't know. I'm going to go with the guy who claims his dog was abused because the EVPs rolled up after a heated confrontation. So if Rebby Hardy's repping for the Hardys and thereby the Young Bucks and Omega, I'm going to side with CM Punk on this one because Rebby Hardy's trash. More to the point, apparently, who just said something about they're tight with the Young Bucks? Oh, I tweeted about this, didn't I? Oh, where the fuck was it? Because I saw it, and I'm like, wait. Oh, it was Teddy Hart. Marcus, it was Teddy Hart.
Oh, yeah, I think you tweeted about that, too.
So Teddy Hart and CM Punk hate each other. Or at least Teddy hates CM. I don't know if CM Punk even thinks about Teddy Hart. Because, again, in that era of Ring of Honor... Dude, I know what our show is next week. We're going to talk about 2003 Ring of Honor. We're going to talk about the hate of Punk. Teddy Hart has been accused of grifting people, going into business for himself, sexual assault. He's on tape abusing or screaming at his girlfriend at the time. I think her name was like Mayhem something or other. She had it tattooed on her stomach. She was in Ring of Honor for a spell. He's got his issues. He's an addict who's lapsed maybe a few times. Maybe he's on the straight and narrow now. I don't wish ill will on Teddy Hart. I want him to be clean and sober because even though he's like 42, I feel like if he was in a good headspace, properly medicated, took ownership of his past mistakes, there's something there. It's like I'm not an anti-Teddy Hart guy, but he's got his baggage, man, and he's going to need to pay extra because that shit ain't carry on. He went out and said that he talked to the Young Bucks about the CM Punk situation. And I'm thinking to myself, Teddy Hart is persona non grata in pro wrestling. Why are the Young Bucks exchanging texts with Teddy Hart? It's like me exchanging texts with like a Ku Klux Klan member. Why would I be doing that? What in that relationship is benefiting me? So if Teddy Hart is one of the people you exchange conversations with on a regular basis, I gotta question your ability to maintain quality friendships, people. Teddy's probably a bad dude. Maybe he's not. I don't know. He's definitely got some issues, psychologically or drugly speaking. I know I just said drugly. Just roll with it. But something's got to change, man. Like when you're looking at who these people are talking about, when it comes to CM Punk, when it comes to this incident, it's always the worst people in wrestling. why? Why are Rebby Hardy and Teddy Hart the ones going after CM Punk? And why doesn't anyone else realize that when the trash starts pointing the finger at people, it's usually not that person's fault? It's like if Vince McMahon came out and said, "Oh yeah, I didn't push him because he didn't work hard enough." Well, that's a lie. That's a lie. We know Vince is trash. So yeah, I'm more and more on the side of CM Punk the more and more this story comes out, because clearly there's some fuckery in AEW, and I can't. Like, you got me with Danhausen and Sting, but the minute you lose both of them, I'm gone. I don't care how much I like Orange Cassidy. I'm not sticking around and dealing with this nonsense anymore. Like, my God. Marcus, my God. Speaking of my God, New Japan. One of the big criticisms on the TV title tournament was that it was old. It was so old. And I forget who it was, but one of the top execs in New Japan was like, we want the TV title to be a young belt. We want younger wrestlers to vie for it. So, Marcus, we now know who's going to be competing for the New Japan television title. Would you like to know who? I think I lost Marcus again. I think I was ranting too much.
Cut off for a second.
There you are.
What was that part?
Do you want to know who is going to be competing for the New Japan Television Championship? I can tell you.
Let's hear it.
So, on one side, we got Zachary Sabre Jr., who somehow has leapt from 27 to 35. Fucking hell, kid. The hell happened to you? When did you get that old? When did I get that old? He's my age. Fuck.
My real last name is Toombs.
Right? And then you got Ren Narita, who is 24. I guess 35 and 24 is the youngest they could do in this tournament. I think Dave Finlay was in this as well. So was Sonata. So it's going to be Ren Narita versus Zachary Sabre Jr. for the New Japan Television Championship. Are you okay with that being the finals for the tournament? Or do you feel like they should have gone in a different direction? Let me finish this up by saying Narita defeated Sonata and Sabre Jr. defeated Alex Zane. So it was a fairly young group.
Yeah, I mean, this coming off more like, instead of like the youngest, it's coming off more like the underserved on the roster in terms of guys who have like got title opportunities or just never had titles. Because I don't really think you're doing nothing for Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, the guy's like, he's like the MVP of the G1 almost every year. And who else you said? You said Ren Narita?
Yeah, it's Ren Narita versus Sabre Jr.
My benefits might have more like Ren Narita more than Sabre Jr., but yeah, this coming off more like the guys who may have been underserved from a certain perspective. But I don't know how you look at somebody like Zack Sabre in New Japan and say underserved unless you're just talking about the fact that he hasn't been like world champion yet. But it feels like he's had everything else. So.
I know he won the British heavyweight title, but that's not a New Japan title. And I think he won the Never Openweight.
Never Openweight. I feel like he's won a G1. Am I correct? If I'm not mistaken.
He won something. I don't know if it was the G1. Is the G1 that sends them to the Superdome?
Yeah.
No, he didn't win a G1. He won the other one.
Okay.
Because they have two big tournaments every year.
He won the tag titles with Taichi. So, like, yeah, he's not underutilized when it comes to the belts. I mean, honestly, this comes down to what he wants to do. I think he could easily go, like you said, again, for the Never Openweight. Can't go for the IC because that's not a thing anymore. But, yeah, so we'll see. But if they put it on Zack Sabre Jr., you can't be too mad. But like you said, I guess it depends on their definition of young. Because, like you said, the guys, I mean, Minoru was 60?
I mean, he might be 56. You're not far off.
Yeah.
Sabre Jr. has won the heavyweight tag titles three times with Taichi, your favorite wrestler. And he won the New Japan Cup.
Yeah,
twice.
That is. Okay.
And those are the only two belts he's won in New Japan.
Okay.
Suzuki's 54, just for the sake of arguments. So, Sabre Jr. hasn't had a lot of exposure in New Japan as far as championships are concerned. So I feel like the TV belt going to him wouldn't be a bad thing, especially if you're going to have Narita chase. But I don't feel like Narita has his shtick yet. So I think it may be kind of a better option to go with Sabre Jr., even though he is 11 years older. So we'll see how that goes. Marcus, finally the tag leagues have been announced. We have the Heavyweight Tag League, or the New Japan World Tag League. We have Bushimon, which is Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. We have House of Torture, which is Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. We have Bullet Club, which is Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. We have TMDK, the Mighty Don't Kneel, which is Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols. We have Gabriel Kidd and Alex Coughlin. Los Ingobernables de Japón, Tetsuya Naito and Sanada. That's a duo. We have the United Empire's Aaron Henare and the Great Okan. Henare is one of those names that I expected to be in the TV title tournament and going for the belt. So I'm kind of sad to see that he wasn't really featured in that. Bebop Tag Team, which is a great name. Toru Yano and Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's my hope. I want to see Toru Yano and Hiroshi Tanahashi win the tag league. Ozzy Opens, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. Suzuki Guns, Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki. Please, God, let the finals be Suzuki Gun versus Bebop Tag Team. On the super side of things, we got Catch 22, or Catch 2/2. I don't know how you say that. Catch 2. Catch 2 divided by 2. Catch 1, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. Francisco Akira and TJP. Of course, it's TJP. That's a fucking terrible name. Chaos, Leo Rush, and Yo. This is again for the juniors, Super Juniors. Los Ingobernables de Japón, you have Bushi and Titan. Bullet Club, you have Ace Austin and Chris Bay. I know we're going to enjoy seeing them wrestle. Although we'd much more prefer Jay White and Chris Bay, so they can come out to their dancing theme with their roller skates and such. We have Kevin Knight and Kushida, which is Kevin Knight and Kushida. They're the only team that I've seen so far that doesn't have a name. We have the Flying Tiger, which is Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask. House of Torture, Dick Togo and Sho. The Wild Hips, great name. Ryusuke Taguchi and Clark Connors. We have Suzuki Gun's Doki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. And we have El Lindemann and Alex Zane. So 2 teams don't have a name. I'm sad by that. Marcus, the New Japan Cups start on November 21st. I shouldn't say Cups. The New Japan Tag Tournament starting on January 21st. Will you be watching?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to tune in because I've been tuned out of New Japan like it's crazy. Like I said, I'm just getting caught up on Impact. Been watching a lot of Glee.
Did you just say you're watching Glee?
Not Glee, Gleet.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we need to have a conversation. Like,
no.
listen, whatever her name is, Becca Tobin, I think, who was in like season 4 and 5. Like, fair, but why else are you watching that show?
Yeah, Gleet. Watching a lot of that. I feel like I was like really putting New Japan on the back burner. So yeah, I'm gonna check out that tag tournament. Obviously, I'm pulling for Goto and Hashi. So that's one of them. Pretty sure there's other tags in there, but they're taking the lead right now. But yeah, that'll be something. I think that'll be a cool way to get back into it too. Love some good quality tag team wrestling. So yeah, I'll be checking that out. And I want to say they took the last one.
Who?
Or maybe I'm thinking about something else they did. They took the titles. Hashi and Goto may have been champions on something else.
I think they won the belts.
Yeah, I think they did win the belts.
Hiroshi Goto.
What you call it in Taichi?
Taichi.
Yes.
The wrestler that brings Marcus to his knees.
The end.
Yeah. Yoshihashi and Goto did win the tag belts, but when? When did this happen? United Empire, Generals Jules, United Empire. Here we go. Bishamon in January 4th. There was Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. And then they lost it to the United Empire, who lost to Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens, who lost it back to the Great Empire, who lost it to FTR. Now I had to deal with those 2 insufferable cunts. You can tell who I don't like in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I don't make it. I don't deal with subterfuge. I don't deal with subterfuge at all. Yeah, they're cunts. Those are two other guys that have really fallen out of favor with AEW and the Young Bucks. Remember, like the Young Bucks and FTR really wanted to work together, and they finally did. And they're like, "Well, that was trash." I'm just saying.
This would have been perfect to send early in the conversation because it doesn't go exactly with what we specifically talked about in agreement with, but because it shits on a particular person, perfect.
Let's see. I don't know if I should open this because it'll go straight to the stream. Is this safe for work, Marcus?
Oh no, it's 100% PG.
Okay. Because it's gonna pop up on the stream, so I just wanted to make sure. There aren't enough women's wrestling. Ah! Fucking fat tire. She's fucking stumbling, bumbling, and rumbling. Oh, this is glorious.
Fucking Land Before Time, the dumbass dinosaurs. Dumbass dinosaurs.
Have you seen that meme where somebody will show like you have a video of somebody failing at something and they'll use the Jurassic Park theme song, but it's like played poorly out of a recorder. It's like that's what this is.
My God, that was the safest bullshit tuck and roll I've ever seen in my life.
And the worst part is it was in a tag match with there's Pero, so I think Pope's there.
Oh my God, that was the safest shit I've ever seen, and he still looked like he tweaked his knee.
I think that's either Pero, not either Pero. That's either Pope or Caprice Coleman. It's a black gentleman with a cross on his shirt, so I gotta imagine that's either or, because both dudes are very religious to a degree.
Oh, just horrendous. I'm like that.
Look at that crowd. Maybe 200 people. I mean, maybe that's why Tyrus. See, if you rewind it at a certain point, it looks like he's dancing. Ow!
This fucker can I wrestle? Cause he sucks bad. He can't wrestle.
Tyrus, are you okay? Are you okay, Tyrus? You've been hit by boom boom. You've been struck by a smooth Corrigan. You know, say what you will about Michael Jackson, and I'm sure of all the atrocities he's probably committed. Smooth Criminal slaps so hard that I just cannot help myself. And usually I'm very much a guy who's like, yeah, listen, dude done fucked up. I can't support him. But like Smooth Criminal specifically.
Absolutely. One of my favorite songs of all time, and probably my favorite music video of all time.
Dude, that music, and I love the little, the music video is great because like the little black kid's like, I taught him everything he knows, and he starts dancing poorly, and the little girl rolls her eyes.
Eddie, are you okay?
But you know that's not a music video, right? That's a scene from a movie.
Doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying like have you seen the whole movie?
No, no.
Okay. Because people don't realize that like, Michael Jackson made a movie, and it's terrible. And people talk about it and don't remember it at the same time. I just remember at one point he turned into a car, or a car turned into him, and I was like, "What?" I'm like 6. I'm like, "What am I? Am I high? Did this pizza have magic? What is happening? I'm 6 watching this." Oh, that movie. We got to review that movie. That's some great dancing, though. Like, my God, I can't dance like that.
No, not at all. I mean, that freaking, that lean, man, that's just all time, man.
Now, if I remember correctly, they did it with, I think, like, planks in their pants or something like that. Like, they did something to pull it off that was practical. Because everyone always thought that they did it with string, and I don't think they did. I'll have to look that up. Like, that lean was fucking iconic. Marcus, I must have knocked myself out 7 or 8 times trying to do that lean as a kid. It's either humanly impossible or I am not human enough to do it. Either or. I don't know, man. It's a great lean, though. The suits, though, those zoot suits, like they don't work in modern day, but like in that music video, they were choice. And I remember they had this beautiful Asian woman who was like the key female dancer. Oh God, like those flapper dresses, like everything about that scene, that music video, that movie just slapped in terms of like cosmetics. The script, however, I don't think was great. Who was the villain? I think it was the dude who played King Koopa in the Super Mario movie. What was that movie called? Moonwalker?
Hmm.
Is that what it's called? Moonwalker? 1 hour, 33 minutes. Who was it? Oh, no, it's Joe Pesci. That's who it was. Joe Pesci was the villain. That's who it is. And it featured Man in the Mirror, Retrospective, Batter, Speed Demon, Leave Me Alone, Smooth Criminal, Come Together, and then the closing credits. So, what does this have on IMDb? And the poster, man, for that movie is fucking iconic. Let's see. Does it have a Rotten Tomatoes score? No, no tomato meter by critics, but the fans have given it a very unfortunate 69%. So that's something. All right, Marcus. Anything else you want to touch on before we head off for the night?
No, just saw that tweet by Ricochet about Braun Strowman. Like, just don't ask him to stand on the scale or he'll threaten to sue you. Hilarious.
I want to know what that's about.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that would be hilarious. So, let's call it a night. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. You can check out our past shows on the site or on the YouTube, links to which you can find on the website. Twitter, NERDCRP. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow, on the Twitter. That's True Penny Show, all one word, on the Twitter. They cover a lot of international stuff, including GLEAT, I guess, which I've heard of, but I forgot about. So when Marcus was saying that, I was like, you having a stroke? But no, it's a real promotion. It's actually the one with Seema, right? Seema's in it?
Mm-hmm.
Seema's great. I don't know why he's no longer. I think he was in Dragon Gate. I think he did. What the fuck was the other one? I can't remember. But he's really like the indie Japanese wrestling legend that like guys like. God, there really isn't any indie wrestling legends anymore in America. He was basically Colt Cabana before Colt Cabana sold out. Only not funny. He was like a really great wrestler. 0-1. That's the other one he worked for. So check out GLEAT. Check out their podcast, True Penny Show. It's good. I'm on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at ChadSphoto at ChadsphotoHut. My voice is starting to go. Today is election day. Go vote. I have a rule. If you don't vote, you don't get to bitch. Them's the rules. I didn't make them. I just made them up. So as for wrestling, we'll be back next Monday. We will be talking the wrestling characters that TNA Impact have brought to the forefront in their legacy. I think we'll each do... What do you want to do? Do you want to each do 5? You want to each do 10? You want to each do like a different number, like 6 or 7 or 2 or 4 or 30? I'm not doing 30. Marcus, that's 60 wrestlers. I'm not doing 30.
Yeah, we can each do 5.
All right, we'll each do 5, and we'll try to keep our 5 different, so that way there's no repeaters.
Yeah. So TNA performers they built from the ground up.
Yes, or guys that not necessarily performers but gimmicks. So like Broken Matt Hardy, EC3, they didn't start in TNA, but they got their name. You can even do like AJ Styles, even though his gimmick was just Flippy Boy, because he started in WCW. But he made his name in TNA. So, like, the characters that defined the promotion. That's kind of what the emphasis is. Your Rosemary's, your Abysses, your Orlando Jordans. My
Oh
mother loves
God.
sponges and the swords. Yeah, I traumatized Marcus right there. All right, so we'll be back next Monday for that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.